First of all, let me just say this at the very beginning of this video. The title of this video stinks. I hate it. I don't like it. How to get over the loss of a spouse. You can't get over devastating loss, but you can get through it. And you say, well, why did you name it that? Well, because a lot of people type it in and they're searching for help with grief. We want as many people as possible to watch this video because I know that many of you are stuck in the pit of grief, and maybe you think your life is over, that there's no hope to ever be happy again because you're just devastated by the loss of your spouse. And we're here to try to help you. And somebody says, well, why in the world do you think you can know how I feel and give us help? Well, first of all, I don't know how you feel. I really don't. Nobody in the world knows how you feel because your loss is very special to you, and your relationship with the one you lost, nobody else has had that relationship. We've had similar relationships, but nobody's walked in your shoes. First of all, I'm so sorry for the loss of your spouse. I'm David Mathews. Along with my wife, Debbie, we founded Spark of Life. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our heartbeat is to walk beside those who are devastated by life and things that happen in this life that just send us cut and bleeding to the corner, as it were, battered by life and by loss. And this video is about helping you deal with the loss of your spouse. So, David, what makes you think you can say something in about 8 minutes that can help me? Well, I know it can't cure you, and I know that it won't take away your pain, but it might give you some insight and help you to move forward with your loss and with your pain. For the last 12 years, my wife Debbie and I have walked beside grievers almost on a continuous basis. Our organization, Spark of Life, has conducted 108 3.5-day retreats in which grievers come, usually groups of 16 or less, 12 to 16, and they come and we get to spend 3 to 3.5 days with them. And we've done that 108 times, either us or our team. And my wife and I personally probably over 90 times. And we get to love people that we get to share our hearts with. They share their hearts with us. It's been a phenomenal experience, and grievers have taught us so much. I want to share just 2 concepts that might give you food for thought and help you progress a little bit out of that pit of grief and give you some hope. Our purpose at Spark is to give you hope that though life can never be the same after devastating loss, life can one day still be very rich, fulfilling, and yes, you can laugh again and have a good time again with the pain of your loss. So 2 basic points today. First point is you own your own recovery. And that's simple. It's your recovery. It's nobody else. But the first point before that is you own your own grief. To get to a healthy recovery, I have to have healthy grief. And what is healthy grief? Grief is you giving yourself permission to grieve how you want, when you want, and how long you need to stay in a deep grief. There's no magical time frame on it. And so you owning your own grief means this too. Oftentimes in our work, grievers come to us and they call us on the phone, they email us, we go to retreats, we go to workshops, we do workshops, we talk to people all over this nation. And one thing we keep hearing from people is, either directly or indirectly, often those who are grieving because they feel so terrible, and because maybe they compare their loss to other people, their recovery to other people, and they're not where other people are in their recovery, they often think something is wrong with me, so I need to be fixed. We don't think grievers need to be fixed. We think grievers need to grieve. I wish I had the power to fix you. Believe me, I have tried fixing people in my life. Ask my wife of 46.5 years. Ask her if I ever tried to fix her. And if you're a husband right now, or if you know anybody who is, you probably know somebody who tried to fix their spouse, especially husbands to wives, but wives, you do it too, right? I learned a long time ago, I can't fix anybody. I have enough trouble trying to fix this guy. But grievers don't need to be fixed. I can't fix them even if I wanted to, even if they wanted me to. No, grievers need to grieve. Because Fixing implies that grievers have something wrong with them. Our first point is you own your own grief and give yourself permission to grieve, and it does not mean anything is wrong with you. I love this quote I read somewhere that grievers have broken hearts, not broken minds or broken brains. And that is so true. You have a broken heart. You don't need to be fixed. You don't know anybody telling you specifically how to go from this to this to this and progress out. You don't need that. You need to grieve. And giving yourself permission to grieve implies that it's okay to grieve. There's nothing wrong with you. You need to grieve. You need to grieve. And sometimes people who are in grief and have lost a spouse have their friends, and it could be a church setting, it could be just your friends, it could be something on Facebook, it could be somebody emailing you or sending you a card. And we hear this all the time from those who grieve. Some well-meaning person who loves you is trying to fix you. And they say something like, well, it's been a year, you need to get over it. That rarely helps, does it? Doesn't it? It doesn't help. It's been a year, get over it. What does that mean? That 365 days magically means you just get up and sing zippity-doo-dah? For you younger people, you have no idea what I just said, right? Singing happy songs. Or you go to church and people try to fix you by quoting scripture to you, or they send you emails, and maybe you believe in scripture, maybe you don't, but if you do, even when somebody quotes a scripture, sometimes you get angry at them saying, what are they telling me, that I'm not faithful enough? And then you might be angry at God. And you're angry at God. Why did you take my spouse? And we're going to have another video on that about God and grief later. But why did you take my spouse? Or why didn't you save my spouse? Or a million prayers went up for my spouse who had cancer or some other disease and nothing happened. And so you're angry at God and you don't even want to go to church. And some of your friends are trying to get you to go back. And church helps a lot of people, but it doesn't help all the time. And sometimes you have the right to say no to your friends because you got to own your own grief. And what about this one? It's been a year, get over it? Really? We have found this: when grievers give themselves permission to set their own time frames, they usually get help and get better faster. I love the illustration about grief is like the waves of the ocean. We just got back from Florida not too long ago. It was terrible weather, by the way. Do not go in January when it's 40 degrees and the wind's blowing 40 miles per hour. It's usually not fun. But we had a beachfront condo and we saw these waves, and for a couple of days the waves were huge where we were in Florida. The waves were huge, and then they would calm down for a while, and then they'll get bigger. And then one day we woke up and we're drinking our coffee looking out over the ocean, and it was as calm as you could be, right on the Gulf of Mexico, right in Pensacola Beach, Florida. Sometimes the waves are huge and sometimes it's calm, or sometimes the waves are just slowly, but the waves keep coming in different intensity, right? And that's the way grief is. There are some days when you wake up and you think, I can't take another step. And some days you feel like, oh, I think I'm over the hump. And then the next week it's terrible. You see, when I give myself permission to cry, permission to feel like crap, permission to feel terrible, those waves of grief will come. But when I give myself permission, I'm actually increasing my chance for a healthier recovery. And that's our second point. So what's the first point? You own your own recovery. You give yourself permission. And there's no time frame that anybody else can put on your recovery and on your grief. And our second point is you own your own recovery, first of all, by believing it is going to be possible for you to someday have true meaning of life, to feel better with your pain, and to work through your pain, not get over it, but to get through it with new purpose, meaning, and joy returning again. You see, recovery is a decision you make. It's not an emotion you feel. If you wait for the emotions to come, it might not come for a long time. So sometimes I say, you know what? I have permission to have a healthy recovery, to reclaim my life, to take back my life. We're spark of life. We're not spark of death. And so in Spark of Life, we believe in living. We believe that you can have life again that's full of joy and purpose and meaning. And I've always said this, if one person can experience losses like I have and somehow find a way at some point to live life fully again, if one person can do that, then you can do it. Then I can do it. I want to tell you about one young lady. She was in her 80s. She had lost her husband of 56 years. She came to a Spark of Life retreat. In her own words, on Thursday evening, she said, I worked with my husband and lived with my husband for 56 years, and then he died, and I thought life was over for me also. I felt like that. I thought it. I thought I will never be happy again. I'll never have a reason to get up in the morning again. I found Spark of Life on the internet, and it was the best thing I ever found. Because I've discovered, she told us on Sunday, after the retreat was over, I discovered that I can be happy again. I discovered I can have meaning in life, to get up with purpose and with meaning, and yes, be happy again with the pain of losing my husband. She's become a dear friend of ours. She volunteers to help Spark of Life. She calls people who've come to our retreats to see how they're doing and to offer help and encouragement to them, just listening to them. She's found a reason to get up in the morning. So 2 points: own your own recovery and give yourself permission, own your own grief and give yourself permission to live life again. And it won't all come at one time. If one person can do it, so can you do it. Now that's just our video for today. How to not get over, but to get through that horrific loss you've experienced. Sparkoflife.org, sparkoflife.org will give you many more resources. We have an online retreats that we're offering up many times during the year, where you, along with 19 other people, can work on your grief together. All the things we do in the in-person retreat, we do on the online retreat. We have a few in-person retreats coming up. And due to COVID, of course, some of those things are in limbo, some are not. But go to sparkoflife.org. You can get grief help now. We have grief coaches that are certified grief recovery coaches that have been through pain and loss, and they've been through it. They've cried buckets of tears, and now they exist to help other people. We've got a great team at Spark of Life. If you need grief help now, go to sparkoflife.org for other resources. Like our channel here on YouTube, like our channel and subscribe to our channel, because we're doing 2 to 3 videos a week. At Spark of Life, we want you to know one thing: there's always hope. There's always hope.